Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's fascinating episode of Exploring the Mysteries of Consciousness. I'm Nevin H., your host and guide through the labyrinth of quantum mechanics and its relationship to our experience of reality.
Thank you, Nevin. It's a pleasure to be here, I must say. I'm thrilled to discuss the intersection of quantum mechanics and consciousness, a topic that has fascinated me for decades.
Luca, let's dive straight into the heart of the matter. Roger Penrose proposed that quantum processes are essential to the formation of the physical substrate of consciousness. Can you walk us through his idea and how it relates to the concept of quantum superposition?
Yes. Penrose's idea is that quantum mechanics plays a crucial role in the emergence of conscious experience. He suggested that the equations of quantum mechanics imply that at any given moment an object or the universe as a whole exists in a superposition of many configurations. This concept challenges our classical understanding of reality and raises intriguing questions about the nature of consciousness. What's a superposition?
A superposition is essentially a state where a quantum system exists in multiple states simultaneously. To illustrate this, imagine a coin that's both heads and tails at the same time. That's roughly the idea of superposition.
I see. So it's like a quantum coin. It's both heads and tails until it's flipped. That's a really interesting analogy. But what about the idea that consciousness arises from the interaction between the observer and the quantum system? How does that work?
That's where the concept of entanglement comes in. Entanglement is a phenomenon where two or more particles become connected in such a way that their properties are correlated, regardless of the distance between them.
Fascinating. I've heard of entanglement, but I'm not entirely clear on how it relates to consciousness. Can you explain it in simpler terms? Like what?
Think of it like a pair of dancers who are connected by a string. If one dancer moves, the other dancer moves in the same way, even if they're on opposite sides of the stage. In a sense, they're entangled. Similarly, entangled particles can affect each other even if they're separated by vast distances.
Wow, that's a beautiful analogy. I think I'm starting to understand. But what about the idea that consciousness arises from the interaction between the observer and the quantum system? How does that fit into the picture?
That's a key part of the proposal. If we accept that quantum mechanics plays a role in consciousness, then it's possible that the act of observation itself is what collapses the quantum superposition and gives rise to conscious experience.
So, it's almost as if the observer is what wakes up the quantum system, and that's what gives rise to consciousness. That's a mind-blowing idea.
Exactly. And it's an idea that has far-reaching implications for our understanding of the nature of reality and the human experience.
Fascinating. I have so many more questions, but I think we've only scratched the surface of this topic. Can you tell me more about the experiments that you and your colleagues have been conducting to test this idea? What kind of experiments?
We've been exploring the use of quantum biology to understand the relationship between quantum mechanics and consciousness. One of the experiments we've been working on involves using xenon isotopes to study the effects of nuclear spin on consciousness.
Xenon isotopes. That sounds like a new area of research. Can you explain more about how it works?
We're using xenon isotopes to study the effects of nuclear spin on consciousness. The idea is that the nuclear spin of these isotopes could be used to create a quantum superposition, which could potentially give rise to conscious experience.
That's incredibly inhuttable. I'd love to learn more about the experimental design and the results you've seen so far. What kind of results?
We've been working with brain organoids, which are essentially mini brains grown in a lab. We're using these organoids to study the effects of xenon isotopes on consciousness. It's still early days, but the results are promising.
That's amazing. I'm so impressed by the crack and innovation of this research. Can you tell me more about the implications of this work? How could it potentially change our understanding of consciousness? I'm really curious about that.
If we can show that quantum mechanics plays a role in consciousness, It could have far-reaching implications for our understanding of the human experience. It could potentially explain phenomena like subjective experience, free will, and the nature of self.
Wow, that's a lot to wrap your head around. I think we've only scratched the surface of this topic, but it's clear that this research has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of consciousness. Thank you, Nevin, for this thought-provoking conversation.
The pleasure is mine, Luca. It's been an absolute delight exploring this fascinating topic with you. I'm sure our listeners will find this conversation as thought-provoking as I do.
Before we go, I just want to say that this research is still in its early stages, and there's much work to be done. But I'm excited about the potential of this research to unlock new insights into the nature of consciousness.
Indeed, Luca. And I think it's safe to say that this conversation has only just begun. We'll be following this research closely and bringing you updates as more information becomes available.
Thanks again, Nevin. It's been a pleasure exploring the mysteries of consciousness with you.
The pleasure is mine, Luca. Until next time, thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey into the mysteries of consciousness.